Here's what you should know about your local housing market in this week's Market Update. We are seeing signs of a shift in the housing market. We've been talking about it for years, and we're starting to see some noticeable changes in the way the housing market locally is operating, a bit of a softening. So what does that look like? Are we seeing prices drop drastically? Are we seeing bidding wars go away? Well, not necessarily. For homes under $1 million, we're still seeing a ton of activity. We're still seeing bidding wars. We maybe are not seeing a ton of offers, but we are seeing multiple offers, and we are seeing those prices bid up quite substantially. When we get to that mid-market range, which is now probably somewhere in the range of 900,000 to let's say 1.2, maybe even 1.3 million, we're still seeing a good amount of activity. We're still seeing, in most cases, multiple offers, if not multiple offers, homes selling near list price. When we start to get more towards that upper luxury range, we are seeing homes sit on the market a bit longer. And it's not just my personal experience. I was at a VIP brunch the other day with the top Coldwell Banker agents in the area, and that was most of the chatter was about the signs of a softening. Now, here in Morris County, we tend to see those signs a little bit sooner than our neighbors in Essex and Hudson and Union counties. As you get closer to the city, any market changes on the upswing happen sooner, and any market changes on the downswing happen later. And even my Essex County colleagues in Short Hills and Maplewood were saying that while they might not be seeing to the extent that we are, they also are seeing signs of market softening. So be aware of that. Make sure your agent is very knowledgeable, and the knee-jerk reactions that we were used to and that were not irresponsible, they were actually advised and advantageous for the last few years, might not be the best course of action. Do be prepared to be in a competitive situation. Those still are happening quite frequently, but also, probably the most frustrating question I'm getting lately is, what's wrong with this house? Why has it been on the market so long? When I look and I see a week, 2 weeks, maybe even 3 weeks on the market, and I'm like, there's nothing wrong with that. That's not abnormal. That still, historically speaking, is very quick. So be aware of that. So let's look into the stats this week. We're looking at Morristown, Chatham, Madison, Harding, Mars Plains, Mendham, Chester, Bernardsville, Basking Ridge, and Randolph. This past week, we saw 89 new homes come in the market. That's a staggering 48% increase over the prior week. Out of these, 66 were single-family houses, and 23 of them were condos or townhouses. The average list price was $1,336,000. Total inventory. We saw a noticeable increase in inventory. We currently have 277 homes on the market in these towns. That's a 7% increase over the prior week. Homes sold. 28 homes sold this past week. That's a 22% decrease over the prior week. Now, before I mention these stats, keep in mind, the sold home data is not necessarily representative of the current market. Most home sales have about, on average, 60 days between contract and close. So while this is the most complete portion of our data, because we actually see what these homes sell for, most of this data is indicative of what the market was about 2 months ago. So the average list price of homes that sold this past week was $1,120,000. The average sale price was $1,213,000. So this past week, homes sold for an average of 9.3% above the list price. Now, every town that had sales this past week, homes sold quite substantially above list price. The lowest amount we saw was Morristown and Morris Township at 3% above list price. We saw Basking Ridge at 5.9% above list price. Chester, 8% above list price. Madison, 8% above list price. Randolph, 10% above list price. Chatham, 11.8% above list price. And Mendham, 18.5% above list price. These homes were on the market for an average of 16 days. Like I said, keep in mind, while that is indicative of the strong bidding wars we are seeing, that data is also somewhat outdated, and I think we're going to start seeing a shift in that data as we progress, as these market changes really were in the last few weeks. We're starting to see these noticeable changes out there. Total homes under contract this past week, we saw 54 homes go under contract. That's a 23% increase over the prior week. The average list price of these homes was $1,181,000, and the average days on market were 24 days on market. Another thing to keep in mind as we track these stats going forward, if these signs of a shift, really start to take shape and show some changes in the housing market, we may or may not see those changes as clearly in the data, because with these changing prices, a lot of the data that we're using to price these homes is from a few months ago. So do not be surprised if we start to see more price reductions, especially as we get to that luxury market. But also keep in mind the sales data, even if we see those prices softening, those sales data might still show home prices above or significantly above list price, because what we are seeing in some cases is those houses sitting on the market for a little bit longer than anticipated, seeing a price reduction, and then after the price reduction, then a bidding war, bidding it then up above the list price. Because the list price we look at when looking at sales data is the most recent list price right before it sold and went under contract, not the original list price. So that's all being said, we've got a lot of things to keep track of these next couple of weeks. We're going to closely monitor them. We're going to give you not only the data, but our analysis and the anecdotal evidence that we're seeing, not only firsthand, but from our colleagues around the region. So thanks so much for checking in with me. I hope you have a great weekend, and I'll catch you again next week.